And welcome back to Asia Prime, where at least 9 people were killed in an explosion in a coal mining site in Sawah Lunto, West Sumatra, Indonesia. The explosion, caused by noxious gases including methane, occurred in a mine owned by a private company while the miners were entering the mine pit. Local authorities have deployed search and rescue teams to evacuate the victims, which were mostly mining workers. They were trapped and buried alive after Friday morning's explosion. The mining corporation says that its 12 workers did their daily job when an explosion struck from a hole on the mining site. Now the team is investigating the clues. Police say that in total there are 14 workers trapped inside the hole. Search and rescue teams have found 9 of them. Most of them had died, while the worker is now receiving treatment at a local hospital. Well, blank pieces of paper have become a symbol of protest for many people demonstrating on the streets of China and the U.S. in recent days. VOA's Elizabeth Lee, Kalayu, and Austin Au explains.
The streets in China are now quiet, and Beijing has started to ease COVID restrictions. But video from recent protests in China and abroad show demonstrators holding blank pieces of white paper. China expert Perry Link explains what some are calling the white paper revolution.
The main purpose is to protest authoritarianism.
In a repressive environment, it's a vehicle to communicate what a protester wants to say but cannot, says human rights activist Yang Jianli.
Under high political pressure and danger, people don't say the words, but they understand each other. When seeing other people on the streets, they know what we want to say with just a look. Such consensus and the power generated from it, it's impossible to release it under high political pressure. But it's all revealed on the white paper. It's very expressive, easily spread, with low risk and cost.
The most recent protests in China are the largest anti-government activity in decades. Discontent has been simmering for months over a zero-COVID policy that led to sporadic, often lengthy lockdowns. The anger boiled over after this deadly apartment fire in the Xinjiang region, where locals say the building was locked due to COVID restrictions, apparently trapping some residents. Citizens across the country took to the streets, many armed with blank pieces of paper.
It's especially articulate in a sense that it lets the reader infer the meaning. And it's defensive because if the police come and say, "Hey, what did you say?" I didn't say anything. There are no words you can pin on me.
Following the protests, China announced an easing of restrictions.
The people below having effect on policy does work in this very crude sort of way.
But dissent is also quickly being stamped out through media censorship and arrests. Even if people had not protested China's strict COVID policy, other catalysts for social unrest may loom.
Sooner or later, another trigger, yes, would have come along. The obvious place to look for another trigger is in the economy.
Frustrated young workers in China face an unemployment rate of nearly 20%. Whatever flashpoint may emerge, analysts say some Chinese citizens are now willing to push back against their government with the power of a blank page. Elizabeth Lee, VOA News, Washington.